Good morning. Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Just when you think it's going to be a quiet midweek, there's not a chance. Celtic go to war with the SFA over the referees. Brendan Rodgers is going to be taken up to the gallows, the gallows, and then hung, drawn, and quartered in front of the SFA and the powers that be, as they deemed what he said against the referees. You're not allowed to say anything against the referees in Scotland, are you? So Brendan Rodgers, we're going to cover Neil Lennon. We're going to talk about a Celtic player that has drained over £6.5 million out of Celtic. And I'm going to give the case for a young player at Celtic who I think should be given a run-in over the next 3 games, considering we now know that we're not going to have the one and only Callum McGregor. So let's get back to Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers has he's been taken to the gallows. He's been charged by the Football Association for his criticism of match officials after his side's 2-0 defeat. The Northern Irishman was cited by the compliance officer. And faces the hearing on the 28th of March. Wonder why they've had to wait so long. I mean, we're currently on the 7th of March. Surely they could have had it in before then. They don't seem to be that busy. I mean, they managed to get a hearing in quite quick when Celtic disputed a red card. They managed to get that in quite quick. They never waited to the end of the week to say. Brendan Rodgers was particularly angered at the sending off at Yang in the 16th minute for catching Hearts Cochrane with a high boot. And he called the award to host the penalty. The penalty one is the one I mean, it's a sending off. He's got his foot high, right? You can take the sending off. You can take that one. The fact that he was overruled by VAR is, I think, is where Brendan Rodgers has the moaning part. But when you look at the penalty, when it's headed down, when it comes off the Hearts player's head onto the back of the arm of the Celtic player Tomoki Awasa, and I think that's where you're really thinking, is the decision's been correct? John Beaton was the man. John Beaton actually looked at VAR, supposedly under no pressure, to say it was a sending off. I find that incredible, says Brendan Rodgers. Rodgers went on to label the officiating of the match incompetent. In my time up here, he said, I don't like to have a go at refs because I understand it's a very difficult position that they are in, he said. I tried to respect their decisions, but for the benefit of doubt, and I think sometimes I see a level of incompetence, which is the word I can only use when it makes me worry for the game. And he's right in what he's saying. And it's not just Celtic. I mean, we can look at it with our green-tinted spectacles and look at it from a Celtic perspective. But when you look at some of the decisions that's been made by the SFA, somebody has to call them out. Somebody has to call the referees out and say, look, you're fucking garbage. Get your act together, get open mics up, and let everybody know exactly what's going on. If Sky Television can sit in their studio and they can hear what's going on with the referees and the people in the VAR studio, surely the fans are due that as well. Why is it such a hidden thing? It's such a tight title race. It's going to make all the difference. I said it could be the fact that that game could have lost us the title, and if it is, well, we'll take it on the chin. But I still think it is in Celtic hands if we go on and win every game to the end of the season. It's not mathematically impossible for us to win the league, so we just fight on. Brendan Rodgers did went on to say, he said, to indicate the basis or incompetence of such an official, Rodgers' charge comes 24 hours after it emerged Celtic failed. Just 24 hours after they failed. Now, what it sounds like to me is they've taken a little bit. How dare they question the red card decision? For that, Brendan Rodgers must now be punished. And you can hear them in the background going, if he's found guilty, he'll be banned from the technical area for the showdown at Ibrox. Now, this is coming. Why not get it done next week? Get it out the way, done and dusted. Give him his slap on the wrist. Tell him that he's to be a good boy. Tell him he's not allowed to talk about the referees. He's not allowed to have an opinion. Most managers aren't. They get drawn up. I mean, there has to be some common courtesy if that's the case. There has to be some common courtesy that we're allowed to know why the decisions were made. They can't say you're not allowed to talk about us, but at the same time, we're not going to tell you what was said. Come on. We're grown people here. We can take it on the chin, surely. Anyway, let's move on to Neil Lennon. And Neil Lennon has been talking about Celtic a lot over the last couple of weeks. I've never known a Celtic manager to comment so much on, and it never really happens in any other in league that you have a previous manager will comment so much on the team that he used to manage twice. And twice he kind of let us down towards the end of his managerial stints at Celtic. 52-year-old, I never knew that he was only a year older than me. Just imagine that. The former Hibernian and Celtic manager Neil Lennon has declared his interest in the Aberdeen job. Neil Warnock is the interim manager, and let's face it, he's done absolutely rubbish, absolutely garbage with Aberdeen, and it's given the sheep shaggers a bit of time, the Dons a bit of time to look for a new manager, and the man that's out of job is wanting a job. The time is important, and the Aberdeen job is something that I would very like to be interested in. No question about it. I think it's great potential there at Aberdeen. Over the two spells at Celtic, he did guide Celtic to 5 league titles, 4 Scottish Cups, and a League Cup. He also led Hibs to the Scottish Championship in 2017. And his most recent achievement was in 2022 when he won the Cypriot Cup. So would it be a good move for Lenny? Would it be a good move for Lenny going to Aberdeen? At 52 years old, he says, my best years are in front of me as a football manager and as a coach. Oh, why could you not have your best years when you came back to Celtic for the second time, Lenny? I do feel that there's a perception of me that is wrong. I have achieved a lot. Titles, trebles, Champions League, and I even went abroad and won a trophy, says Neil Lennon. And I've even had the team in the Europa League. I've won the Scottish Cup 4 times as a player and a manager. I have a lot of real experience. I got the Celtic job when I was very young. It was like 15 years ago. People think I'm getting on a bit, but I still have plenty of energy. I'm looking forward to get back into the managerial business. It's so competitive, and there's so many candidates out there, says Lenny. Now, talking about Neil Lennon and talking about a man that took £6.5 million out of Celtic. Yes, that's what it cost for having a goalkeeper at Celtic that was absolute garbage. We paid 4.5 million for him, and we give him 2 million in wages at his time at Celtic, and then we allowed him to walk away for nothing. It's a bit like Seth Coney and fans when their club died back in 2012. We had a Celtic player who walked away for nothing and just laughed with his barrel of cash in his hand. Celtic didn't die though. Celtic went on to win more doubles and trebles since then. Has to be remembered that we didn't just die off. We rose from the ashes of the 2020-2021 season of not being able to win the 10. We rose from the ashes and we won doubles and we won trebles. Unlike some other teams that you can talk about. Ange Postecoglou obviously went to Tottenham Hotspur, and he decided that he didn't fancy the one and only £6.5 million costed player. When you look at it, Celtic cannot do this again. Celtic signed Barkas in the summer of 2020 with Neil Lennon, signed the shot stopper from Greek side AEK Athens for a fee of 4.5 million, with 1 million a year in wages. The move didn't go particularly well for Barkas, and the reason I'm talking about this. Celtic are now going into a summer where we're going to be looking at 2 goalkeepers. Celtic cannot make the same mistakes again that we've made in the past. Over the past year and a half, for instance, there's been a lot of players that have came in. There have been a lot of players that came in towards the end of Ange Postecoglou's time that were not good enough for Celtic and have since left. There's players like Leo Labada that's just left the club, who was a bit part player at his time at Celtic. Let's not say anything less. He was a bit part player at his time at Celtic. He might have been a good bit part player, but when it comes to it, he was a bit part player at his time at Celtic under Ange Postecoglou. And the current manager, we can't make the same mistake again of going out and spending 4.5 million, which then takes me on to the next part of the video, because I think that it's important that we bring through our own players. When you look at it in the 2020-2021 campaign, Barkas was first choice at the start of the season. Between the sticks, he was then replaced by Scott Bain, the ever-reliant number 2 Scott Bain that's been at Celtic for as long as I can remember. It's going to go down in history as he's going to go down as a quiz question. Name a player that was at Celtic that only played around about 50 games and won trebles. and trebles and trebles and doubles and trebles for years at Celtic. That sounds good, doesn't it? Fantastic career to have all those medals and all those championships trophies. But Scott Bain is number two, and even he had an awful season that season, where he only had a save percentage of 69%. Barkas only had a save percentage of 60% that season across his 15 appearances. The fact that it wasn't good enough to start over Scott Bain tells us a lot. Hart was then signed in 2021 season, 22 season, and the Greek goalkeeper went on to play just one league match. He conceded one goal and made 0 saves. It's going to be an important summer for Celtic. Celtic will have to get it right when it comes to the goalkeeper. You've got a young goalkeeper called Toby that is out on loan, and I think he should probably be our number 3. If he's good enough to go out on loan and get some game time, he's definitely good to be on the bench for Celtic and be our number 3. Will Brendan Rodgers put him out on loan again? I think it's about time that we started bringing through more of the younger players at Celtic. The fact that we paid 4.5 million for a goalkeeper, 2 million in salary, and kept him at Celtic for a couple of seasons and then let him go for nothing cannot be done again. That is why there's a young player at Celtic. There is a young player at Celtic called Daniel Kelly, and his contract runs out on the 31st of December this year. And when you look at young Daniel, you could say, but he's just a young kid. Well, we're bringing in prospects. We're bringing in prospects that have got potential. This guy knows what it's like to play for Celtic. He's had some minutes on the pitch when you look at it. This season he's played in the Lowland League 15 times. He scored 1 goal. He played in the UEFA Youth League 6 times, and he scored 2 goals from midfield. He's played in the Scottish Premiership twice this season in a total of 55 minutes, and he scored 1 goal in 2 games. That in itself is a good return. That's why I'm pushing the case for the one and only Daniel Kelly to get his chance at Celtic in midfield, especially over the next 3 games. And the reason I want to be giving him his chances, we need to make sure that there's an easy path for these young players that not only have the potential, but have what it takes to probably make it at Celtic. I mean, when you look at some of the players that have came in, I mean, it's looking like that Daniel Kelly is going to be worth more to Celtic than what the likes of Ida Gucci has been. He has yet to put pen to paper. Celtic will offer him a new deal. He's only played, he had a strong 45 minutes against Dundee when Callum McGregor went off injured. Now, Callum McGregor is going to be out for a couple of weeks. When you look at the fact that Rio Hatate is out for a couple of weeks also, he won't be back until just after the international break. So we've got 2 games where we could definitely utilise Daniel Kelly. It's games against Livingston, where I think that he should be given his chance. It's going to be at Celtic Park. I think when you look at the stature of the young man, he's definitely not when we've brought through Celtic players in the last couple of seasons, they tend to be about 5'4" and skinny little runts. This guy is not. He's got the build that I think that will take him on to be a fantastic player for Celtic. Celtic need to get his contract situation sorted out. He is in contract until December this year. So there's plenty of time, but I'm sure Celtic will get that deal done and dusted before the summer. Brendan Rodgers has been talking up Kelly over the last couple of weeks with his potential, his work ethic on the training pitch and the first team squad. I love the fact that he's in and around the first team. The fact that as a young player, we need to bring him through. It's as simple as that. He said he was in Portugal with the pre-season, which was incredible. Brendan Rodgers says at the age of 18, you can see he's physically developed now and is up to speed and up to touch. He's only going to get better. Part of the idea and the strategy here is to allow these young players to come in and develop at Celtic. We need them in and around the first team more. The squad is too big sometimes. The young players don't get left to the sides. This guy needs to push on and come through. He's an excellent example, said Brendan Rodgers. The room for them to come in and train with you. You'll see the rewards from that. Clearly, Rodgers will be hoping that the club can come to an agreement with the player over the next month or so to make sure that he doesn't go and sign for anyone else this summer. Well, he can't because he's in contract with Celtic until December. So Celtic need to boost on the first team group with players that are homegrown talent, if you ask me. Look at the way that Callum McGregor has bossed the midfield over the seasons alongside some good players. and he's played fantastically well. He could be one that could definitely do it for Celtic. Tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me what you think about Brendan Rodgers getting taken to the gallows, and looks like he's going to get a ban. They're all talking about it. Yeah, we're going to ban you. They can't make it more blatant than that, can they? They can't make it any more blatant than the fact that they're going to ban him for this Sevconian game, yes, the Rangers game. And Lennon's had enough of talking about Celtic. He now wants to go and talk about Aberdeen. So good luck to Lenny if he does get the Aberdeen job. And on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.